hearing for Tipton Community School Corporation. This is a public hearing for the additional appropriations for the Rainy Day and Operations Fund. Last month, the Board of Trustees approved the advertisement of a public hearing for additional appropriations of $325,000 from the Rainy Day Fund and $88,380 from the Operation Fund. The required notice to taxpayers was advertised in the Kokomo Tribune on February 21st, 2024, which meets the 10-day publication requirement prior to the public hearing. At this time, the board will delay the public hearing on the additional appropriation from the Rainy Day Fund, but proceed with the public hearing for the additional appropriation from the Operation Fund. Does any member of the public wish to comment on the additional appropriation from the Operation Fund of $88,380? Okay, easy enough. Then with that, I will go ahead and adjourn the public hearing. Call to order the Tipton Community School Corporation Public Work Session. Tonight, we're privileged to have a representative from KLR Medical Service Training School here. Katie, if you'd be willing to come up and just approach this mic for us. Thank you. Well, you can turn and face us. Yep. That's okay. Sorry, we could have told you ahead of
I
time.
was talking to these guys. That's usually
Nope.
how
Oh,
the
you're
platform works.
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
you can talk to us. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having us. We're excited to working towards a partnership with you guys. With me today is Miss Naomi Willis. She's got some flyers for you guys regarding our courses. So she's going to kind of hand some of those out to you guys so you can guys just take a look at them. And then any questions that you guys have, I'm happy to answer. Do you want me to just kind of start with just kind of what KLR is and what we're doing?
Okay,
And
please.
if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing a little bit of your story, which I think is just awesome.
Thank you. So my name is Katie Riegelsberger, and I am the CEO and founder of KLR Medical Certification Training School. And I have quite a background that is a little bit different than traditional high school students. And so I grew up in a home with parents who were alcoholics and drug addicts. And with little to no support at home, I found myself pregnant with my first child when I was 13. My dad unenrolled me from school at the end of 8th grade. I actually went to Hamilton Heights with promises to the school district that I would be homeschooled. He did not have any intentions of following through with that. And still to this day, 21 years later, I am so surprised at how easy it is to unenroll your child from school. High school or education was something that was really important to me, and while I learned to navigate motherhood for the next several months, I checked out books from the local library and I studied for my GED test on my own. And I took that test when I was 16, and what I thought was that was going to change my life and that of my child. And what I learned in all reality was that society had a different idea in mind as to what it meant to be educated. And so for the next several years, I continued to work dead-end jobs with little to no job security, no PTO, no benefits, and I was really in a hole. And when I was 18, I gave birth to my second child. And if any of you know somebody or have been in a situation like that yourself, once you are in a hole like that, it is really hard, especially with no support system, to come out of something like that. And you really just don't know where to go from there, especially at a young age. I knew that I wanted something better for myself and for my children. I wasn't sure how to get it. And so, you continue to just kind of live that life and go through the motions. And so fast forward several years later, I was actually taking my kids to a martial arts lesson when I heard somebody talking about this high school for adults. And I am a nosy person by nature, I will tell you that much, but I jumped directly into their conversation and I was enrolled into the Excel Center the very next day. And I don't know if any of you have heard about the Excel Center. It's a non-traditional high school for adults. I had 0 high school credits. I had never been to a day of high school in my life, and I was 25 years old with 2 kids. I had an infinite amount of determination. I spent 8 months at the Excel Center, earned 42 credits and 2 certifications, including the pharmacy technician certification. And while I was at the Excel Center, both of my parents passed away. My mom from cancer, from drugs and alcohol, and my dad of a drug overdose where we found him in his home. And that only strengthened my resolve to want more for myself and my children. I knew at that point that this was my big chance to do that. And so I really jumped into that opportunity. My kids sat in the front row the day that I graduated, and my son, my oldest son, was, I want to say 10 at the time, in 5th grade, 10 or 11. And he said, I graduated with honors and a 3-point GPA at the top of my class. And he said, Mom, if you can do that, I can too. And I realized in that moment that my journey was more about, I realized again that my journey was more about, was more than just about me. And so there are little people watching me. And so that was really important. And so fast forward, I did graduate. A week after graduation, I accepted a position at CVS Pharmacy, where I worked my way up to lead technician and inventory specialist. 4 months later, I accepted a position at Riverview Health in Noblesville in their inpatient pharmacy, where I worked my way through IV and chemo training, med history training. I joined the local hazmat team that served all of Hamilton County. And in 2016, I was promoted to pharmacy supervisor, which I thought was going to be the highlight of my career. And it was for quite some time. But in 2018, the Excel Center called me and asked me if I would like to teach a pharmacy technician certification course. And I told them I am not a teacher. And that is still a going, running joke because that has changed. I they fully believed in my ability to do this. And so while I taught my classes in the evenings, I worked full time at the hospital during the day and built my curriculum in the wee hours of the morning, learning what was working and what was not as I went. And when the pandemic hit, they asked me to take that course online, which allowed us to serve multiple more students, obviously. And so, fast forward today, we are a team of 9 instructors offering courses in not just pharmacy tech, but billing and coding and vet assisting in 28 different states for accelerated courses. Almost 2 years ago now, we paired up with Carrie Lively, who's the executive director of the Pursuit Institute. If you don't know her, find her, she's amazing. And we partnered with them to offer CTE courses in pharmacy tech. CTE courses, you all know, that's why you have me here. And so CTE courses started with our pharmacy tech course, and that has quickly grown to pharmacy tech, medical assisting, dental assisting, vet tech, phlebotomy, and we will be offering principles of healthcare for 8th through 10th graders this fall as well. So we're really excited about that. We do have plans to offer more courses in the future. The little boys that I told you about, just going back to that story a little bit, are now, Joshua did follow through with his promise to do exactly what I did. He graduated high school early with honors from Pendleton Heights High School, and he enrolled into the National Guard. So he is a soldier in the National Guard, and he is also an instructor here at KLR. My younger son is 16 years old. He gets his license Thursday. Thank heavens. And I did a lot of driving. And he is actually works for KLR as well and is in all advanced classes. He will graduate early with over four or five certifications, a couple of externships, a full-time job, and multiple dual credits. So they're something I'm very proud of. We have a really, really great team at KLR. I'm happy to be here and answer any questions that you guys have. I'm really passionate about helping students that come from anywhere, but students specifically that might have a background similar to my own, where I can kind of give back in that area. And, you know, when we started going into CTE, I realized that my first thought was, well, I'm not going to tell any of these students my story. And I'm still a little apprehensive about that because I don't want parents to come to me and say, why would you tell my student that story, right? Because, you know, maybe they don't want their kids exposed to something like that, and that's absolutely fine. But what I realized in the last 2 years is that a lot of these students have something going on that we don't know anything about. And so it is really nice for these students to be able to, for me to be able to stand in front of students and say, I know what you're going through, and I know how hard it is to do A, B, and C, because sometimes when they can relate to us, they can trust us a little bit more, and when they can trust us, they can learn from us better. So really passionate about that, really passionate about just growing KLR and being able to grow what we offer and grow in the community. We do have multiple employer partnerships, and we are working on several in Tipton. We're really excited about that. So we have multiple employer partnerships, and those, we do not offer job placement, but those students are going to be placed in work-based learning, where multiple of our students are landing jobs. We just had a medical assistant student this week land a full-time job. He's still finishing his externship for the remainder of the year, but getting paid to do it. So that's really cool. And we've had some pharmacy students. We have a pharmacy student from last year who was offered a full-time position at Riverview in the inpatient pharmacy, and she was just accepted into Butler Pharmacy School. So really, really cool, kind of what we're doing with the CT programs and giving the students a different opportunity that they may not have had. Specifically, a couple of the students that I'm talking about right now did not come in with kind of that in mind or really that focus. And so it's really cool to be able to offer that to them if they think, you know, a lot of them do want to go to college, right? A lot of them are headed off to college, but there are students who are not headed off to college. And we want to give them an opportunity to decide what they want to do ahead of time and go out after graduation and not wander around aimlessly. And so that's something we're all really passionate about. I'm a talker. I can talk and talk your head off. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to answer any questions that you guys have.
Might want to just explain how the process works, you know, the age of the kids that are
Yes.
doing this, what the virtual
Yes.
looks like and how we keep kids accountable. And also I loved hearing about your app and how that works.
Yes.
Pretty cool stuff.
So the way that the process works, so we have the 4 programs, and students are going to come in as juniors or seniors for the majority of them. You have the flyers in front of you. The only one that is not available as a 1-year program currently, sorry guys, I'm moving up, is going to be the dental program. That is a 2-year program and only available as a 2-year program currently because it has a ton of information built into it, and the students have to get a certain amount of hours, etc., to really make it beneficial for them in an external. So we are making that a mandatory 2 years. The rest of the programs we did have set as 2 years, but we had a lot of students and parents say, well, I had no idea that this was available, and now my student is a senior, or I'm a senior, and I want to do this. And so we were able to make those accelerated. And so students are going to come in and they are going to take principles of healthcare, medical terminology, and one of those courses with us. So let's just use pharmacy tech to as an example. That is our most popular course. And so they're going to come in, they're going to be face-to-face with an instructor on Zoom. So we teach in so many different places and for so many different school districts, even for our CTE programs, that we can obviously not be in all those places at once. So we are on Zoom. Students are required to be face-to-face in the Zoom and participating. We're not making them read from a chapter out loud, but they need to be participating when called on, et cetera. They're being held accountable. They're almost adults. And so we are going to learn all the basics that they need to know. We're going to learn that knowledge they need to know to pass a national exam. That's the whole point of the course. And so they are going to learn basic pharmacy calculations and SIG codes, which is how you read and write a prescription. They're going to learn how to verify a DEA number, laws and regulations, rules and guidelines, medical terminology. They are going to learn the basics of sterile, non-sterile compounding, the top 200 drugs, how the body system works, how drugs work, pharmacology, etc. And then they are going to, that first year, we are going to meet with them one-on-one. They are going to do their first aid and CPR training. That goes for all the courses. And then we do teach that in person. And then we are also going to do some shadowing. So we're going to place them in a shadowing location. So for example, if they are a pharmacy student, they will hopefully be placed in a retail setting like CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Kroger. Or they're going to, and they're going to be placed in an inpatient setting. So it's going to be in the inpatient pharmacy in a hospital somewhere. So that they can see the best of both worlds. If they are a medical assistant student, they'll be placed in a doctor's office somewhere. And that shadowing is not work. That is different than the work-based learning. This is the first portion of the year or the first year. And you got to kind of stick with me. If it's the first portion of the year, it is because they're seniors and they're doing the 1-year program. If it is the first year, I'm talking about those students who come in as juniors and they're doing a 2-year program. But they're just shadowing. It's really just for them to see what's about to be up next year when they, the next portion of the program, when they go in for that work-based learning rotations. And so right before winter break, if they're juniors, or if they're seniors, right before winter break, they're going to go ahead and take their national exam. And we do have a 100% pass rate for that national exam, for all of our national exams for the last several years. We have that based on the guidelines that we give to the students and the regulations that we keep for them to be able to sit for that exam. So they're going to take that national exam and earn their credentials as a medical assistant, a pharmacy technician, etc. And then we are, for pharmacy, we're going to also help them obtain their pharmacy technician and training license. And so this is the only difference between the rest of the courses in pharmacy, which is why I kind of stick to pharmacy because it's something you're going to want to know. So in any state, in order to work in any pharmacy, you have to have a state license, a pharmacy technician state license. So that national certification, which they're going to take the big test for, is going to make them more appealable, what is the word I'm looking for? Interesting to the employer, right? They're going to get paid probably $1 to $1.50 more. It's going to show the employer, hey, they know their stuff. The license is literally for them to be able to touch anything in a pharmacy. You have to have it. Well, the thing is that you cannot get a pharmacy technician license unless you are 18 and have a high school diploma. So we worked closely with the Indiana Board of Pharmacy for a very long time to be able to make it so that we could get the students, we could help them obtain a pharmacy technician and training license, which allows them to do everything a regular pharmacy technician does, which in turn is giving them that hands-on experience. That pharmacy technician and training license is only good for 1 year. And so as soon as they graduate and turn 18, we are going to reach out to you and get their transcripts. And then we're going to meet back up with them on Zoom, and we're going to turn in the correct paperwork, and they're going to become a regular pharmacy technician. We did it last summer with all the pharmacy techs. It worked perfectly. Most of them are still working in pharmacy. So that's kind of the pharmacy program. Each of our students do have a KLR student coach. So it's something that, a model that I loved from the Excel Center and from schools in general. You guys are familiar with the whole coaching or counseling process. And so each of our students do have not only myself, but they have their instructor, and then they also have a student coach based on their last name. And that student coach is going to be there to remind them of missing assignments, help them one-on-one if they need help, give them extra encouragement, help reach out to their school if we need to have like a meeting, etc. And just really be an extra motivator or push for them during the course. What am I missing? We bring
You talked about the app and how you're able to, if they're going to the work-based side.
Yes, I was wondering what app you were talking about.
Yeah.
So the app that he is talking about is called Busy Busy. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It is an app that we found last year when we were thinking, well, how are we supposed to find out if these students actually are at their rotation? Because I can't chase them down, and that was back when we had 12 students. I certainly can't chase 250 students down every day. So I need to know, one, that they're safe, because my big thing was I'm a mother, and sending all of your students out, just driving around, Hamilton County is a little worrisome for me. If a parent calls me, I want to be able to say your student is where I told you they are. But also for accountability purposes, I need to know that the students are where they say they're going to be. It's hard to build these partnerships, and we work really hard to maintain them and hold the students accountable. And so Busy Busy is an app that does track the student's location. We have had no problem with parents signing off on it because it is only able to track the students when they turn it on, which they have the ability to turn it off, and it only tracks them at the location we have tracked on there. So we plug in, and correct me if I'm wrong, we plug in the site. So Riverview or Walgreens, they pick their name, and then they pick the site that they're at, and that logs them in, locks them into work. They log out when they finish. And so, for instance, today we needed to check on a student from yesterday, and we could tell that student did arrive 2 hours late due to a doctor's appointment, but also stayed 2 hours late. And so we were able to verify that with that app. So that app has been really useful. We do have parents sign off on it. We would not do that without parent permission, and we did not have any issue. No parents asked questions. I could not believe it. And had they, we would have come up with an alternative solution, but they did not. What questions do you guys have based on all that? It's a lot of information to give you all at once. And again, I'm a talker, and I talk really fast, and I do this a lot, so sometimes I miss things. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Would all the locations that, say, like for dental, a dental assistant, the year that they go and work or shadow, can they be in Tipton, or is it in Hamilton County? Do you have like a list of approved places, locations that the students go to?
So currently, we have specific places that we're partnered with. Dental is very limited currently. It's a newer program. There aren't nearly as many dental offices as there are pharmacies. And so that is a limited program, just because you named dental. But we do tell the students and the schools currently that we will not ask them to drive any more than 30 minutes from their school if they are at home, any more than 30 minutes from their home. So some of these students are like obviously at home, they don't have class the period before they went home, etc. I don't know. So that's the promise we have made so far. We are working on partnerships in Tipton, like I said, but we have partnerships not in Hamilton County. I mean, they're all over the state because we have schools all over the state. But I would say for the Tipton area currently, Hamilton County is definitely gonna be mixed into that because it's so much larger.
And then would, say for, get your dental assistant's, license, and then you really wanted to be a dental hygienist undertaking this, would those classes and courses that you, took and completed transfer over to go, would a college accept these credits? Or would you have to kind of take over some of these?
So that I would have to look into. I believe that these are certifications. So they're high school credits, but they're not dual credits currently. We are currently working on a dual credit program for our pharmacy program with Ivy Tech, but they're not dual credits. And so they're not going to transfer over to a college, but it's still, so for dental specifically, there's like 10 different credentials that you can get. So the one that they're going for with these three tests, the ICE, AMP, and RHS, is the NELDA, which is through DANB. It's the National Entry Level Dental Assistant through the Dental Association National Board. And you have to have those three tests. That is obviously different than the dental hygienist, but the next step up is that dental hygienist, and you have to know all the things that they're learning to be able to even start passing that test. So it is going to help them move into that, but it's not going to be credits that can transfer to a college. I would say it's definitely going to help them through courses in college. Yes.
Speaking of, I'm looking at this MOU that we're looking at on our end and looking at the true class time. Well, it looks like you have class time on these as well.
Yeah.
The Zoom meetings, the class time, is that typically done at a location at school, or are students, released to go home, or what kind of does that look like?
Very good question. So the students generally, for most schools, are being released to go home. Because it's an online program, it allows the school to not have to have a teacher sitting there, not have to have an extra spot for the students to do this. They're just going home. There are a couple of students we've had in classes, and chime in if you want, but who might have a little bit of a longer drive. And so mom or dad are picking them up, and they're kind of like on the Zoom call, just listening right before they're, logging into their actual computer and on the Zoom looking at us, which they know is the ultimate goal. But if they're just driving, we prefer them not to log in until they get home. The classes are recorded, so if they miss 10 minutes of the first class, we also try really hard to make the first 10 to 15 minutes attendance and then they're working on like separate classwork items that we're going to review together in 10 to 15 minutes, so that if there is some issue with transportation, we don't have kiddos trying to sit on a Zoom call while they're driving, because I'm a mom. But the class times are generally held at their own home. There are a couple of students I know specifically at Noblesville High School who are in for our dental program, and they are sitting in the library, and that is because they're juniors and do not have their license, and so they don't have a way home. Mom and dad cannot come and get them at that time. They could come and get them, but they're keeping them at the school for that time.
And
And we would obviously have some issues because of Wi-Fi in Tippett County, where if a student didn't have strong Wi-Fi, we would find a place for them to take care of all their coursework. So
Yeah.
that would be the other thing.
And either way is not going to, if that's one of the questions too, like, do we care either way? We have no preference. That is whatever is easiest on you. We have schools, like I said, for our 8-week courses, and students are all over the place. So they could be in a classroom, in a library, driving, at work, nursing a baby. We've seen it all. So wherever they can focus and we can teach them the material. So,
So all the classes are live and
All-
recorded. So like, how do you do attendance? How do you make sure they're actually watching? Their cameras have to be on and,
Yeah. So all of the classes are on Zoom, instructor-led and live. They are recorded because what if a student has a doctor's appointment, or what if a student
Wi-Fi trouble or
whatever,
whatever.
exactly, they're sick. We just say, or if, some of them, we have 52 different spring breaks. I do not know how many dates we deal with for spring break, but oh my goodness. And so we do our best to, pick the date between 52 schools that work for a week for us to be off. 40, but there's still students, and I'm not going to tell a senior's parent, sorry, you have to be here when this is your last year to go on spring break with your kid before they go off to college. And so in that, situations like that, the student can watch the recorded class video. They're responsible enough to do that, and they can complete the work based on that. They're still getting the same content the rest of their peers got, but we're able to be flexible as well, which is nice in an online led program. But they do have instructors with them face to face, and as far as attendance, the instructor is taking attendance. We are really big on communication too, and so if your student is not in class, if they're not 10 minutes early, they're late, first of all. I cannot stand lateness. So it's something that we have adopted at KLR that the students will tell you after a couple months with us, not 10 minutes early, you're late. And so you're going to receive the counselor, whoever's basically in charge of that student. So it's generally the counselor, their advisor. I don't know the difference between a counselor and an advisor. But the entire KLR team, the student and the student's parents are on the same end. And it says, hello, your student is not in class today. Please reach out to your student and follow back up with us. And if they're not in rotations, it will say something like that as well. If they have already reached out and said, hey, I have a doctor's appointment, we're still going to send that email, but it's going to say, hey, your student is not in class, but they did reach out and let us know why. So when mom and dad say that and they're like, why? Because they had no reason, right? They're able to reach out to us and we're going to say, hey, they had a doctor's appointment. And then I'm only saying this because we recently had this. The parents said, well, they didn't have a doctor's appointment. And so it really allows us to hold the student accountable. The other thing that we do for communication is missing assignments. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 8 a.m., you're going to receive an automated email that our coding specialists put together. It's going to include those same people that I just mentioned, and it's going to say, hey, these are the exact assignments that your student is missing at this time. They have 48 hours to turn these in. Please work with your student. Let us know how we can help. And so it's a specified list for them. They can also see that information in Google Classroom, but it's a specified list, so parents don't have to feel like they have to log in or bug the student or chase the student down, etc. And the school is aware as well.
This is only students who are enrolled in a high school or homeschooling, I suppose, not adults.
So these classes are for high schoolers. We do have, like I said, the accelerated programs. The CTE courses are for high schools. The accelerated programs that we have for vet assisting, filling and coding, and pharmacy tech are AV programs for adults.
Because Andrew seemed very interested in the dental program.
This seems like an incredible opportunity for certifications for our students. Quite an array of options, and so that this is an exciting program. Excuse me.
Thank you. What other questions do you guys have?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for having us. We're gonna go ahead and leave these. We'll leave these here. You guys can use these to hand out to students if you're interested. Obviously, Dr. Blaze has my information, so if any of you feel that you thought of something after we have left, don't hesitate to reach out to us via email or phone. We have had multiple students and parents reaching out already throughout the schools to kind of ask questions, so students are enrolling pretty quickly. I can send over, if you guys are interested, our application form that students are filling out to say they're interested in the course, et cetera. And
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So board, tonight, we do have an opportunity, if we so choose. You've had a memorandum of understanding in our packet. So if this is something we want to proceed with, we can approve this tonight. Or if you'd feel more comfortable, we can also postpone it. And so I just kind of need to get a feel on kind of where everybody's at. Or if you have any other questions for Dr. Glaze or.
Just, we had mentioned the financial aspect of it was very similar to the vocational school, right?
Right.
As far as the,
I'm not gonna tell them, but actually it's cheaper than what it is for our kids
that's why I said similar.
to go. Yeah.
But it's,
It's about $400 to $500 per student.
Have you spoke to other schools who are participating
Yes.
and they have all good things to say?
I have not found a single person that has a bad thing to say about it. And she really does go out and try to get local placements. And so that's a real bonus as well. We're gonna be somewhat limited because of where we are. But the goal is really local. And as a support to our community.
So the scheduling component of it for high school students is taken care of because I would think of it like a student is scheduled for Hines correctly. And so instead of the block scheduling scenario, they would be scheduled similar to a Hines.
Right, so they would do morning or they would do an afternoon. And so, again, the morning, they would just the first 3 hours of school, they would do this. They're in school the rest of the day, vice versa, but yeah.
Okay.
They'd have to do morning classes, it looks like.
I think they do have afternoon.
These are all
Senior years
all
are-
these are afternoon
Yeah.
classes,
Is it the
courses.
senior?
The senior ones say afternoon on.
And, we've already talked a little bit, students, about this possibility. As we're coming up, just to kind of gauge interest. We do have some interest. And again, providing these opportunities for a school our size. Again, she talked about being statewide. What I will say is, it's not real big yet. It's going. This is what a lot of schools probably.
When is something that you thought you were interested in one of these careers and did it and then really wanted
Exactly.
to save that time that you would have figured that out for college?
And the other nice thing about it is, if they want to work while they're in college, they have that option.
I'm comfortable with moving forward. The due diligence has been done on this. The funding has been fleshed out and explained to us. I think it makes sense. So you were asking for, so that's my thought process.
I agree. It's a good opportunity for our students.
Okay, is there anyone that would say, I'd like to wait? Okay, then I'll add that to our agenda for the regular board meeting. Thank you. All right. I just want to say I highly appreciate the bow tie.
Those guys are cool.
Super fancy. Okay.
He didn't get that.
That's just a
You can wear one the next
meeting
time.
up here. Just some salaries. It's like I'm getting my taxes done here.
I know, something feels good.
There you go.
Very official.
It could.
Okay, team, let's go.
So, we're here to talk about changes to, the pre-K program for next school year. And before we start talking about the changes though, we wanna, first of all, thank our current, pre-K staff. Some of them will be back with us next year in pre-K, some will not. But, over the last several years, they've just done a tremendous job of, servicing our pre-K kids. Also, they just, I just can't say enough. Over the last couple years, as Joel and I have taken over as administrators at Tipton Elementary School, neither one of us necessarily had a deep background in pre-K. And the person I probably want to just thank the most is Lizzie Defoe. She has been instrumental in continuing our pre-K program for what it is right now. And we love Lizzie and we can't say enough about her. So
Did you know she's behind you, so we could say thank you to her
Where is
in
she?
particular?
Yeah, Liz.
Liz, you want to come up and say?
No pressure.
But no, then, this lady has just been absolutely instrumental in our pre-K program over the last several years, but especially over the last 2 years in running it. So thank you, Liz. But tonight we're here to talk about a few of the changes that we're going to be making. So first of all, why are we making these changes? We're shifting to a developmental pre-K model, and what's different now from when our pre-K started is that we are servicing all of our students with IEPs in pre-K. We're servicing them all here on campus, where we used to not service them on campus. So Rick's going to talk about this process.
So previously, we sent our pre-K kids who had special needs up to Bona Vista up at Kokomo. And 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I forget, it's somewhere in there, is it 2? Bona Vista basically just said, we're not gonna service, early childhood. So they still do adult services, that kind of stuff, but they're out of the pre-K business. So, all of us that are in the Kokomo area, especially cooperative, we all were kind of in the same boat, trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with our special needs pre-K kids? We made the decision that we were going to keep ours here. I think that's probably the best option we have. So, having those pre-K kids go up to Kokomo, that's not an option for us anymore. When they get into kindergarten and on up, there's still a possibility if they really have serious developmental needs, we can send them to Kokomo or to Western, to that program, to the life skills program. We have a few that are in that. I want to say 4, but if they're not in kindergarten yet, they're not eligible for that program. So we have to service them here. Normally that process starts, families get support from First Steps. That can be in place until age 3. So once a kid turns 3, then they basically graduate out of First Steps. And so the process then for that is First Steps contact me as a special ed director at 30 months, and they do a transition assessment. Sometimes I'm able to go to those, sometimes I'm not, but I always get the results of that in a report. And then basically we contact the family and we contact KSEC and say, we have this kid who needs tested, and it could be for speech only. It could be for a developmental delay. It could be for occupational therapy. It could be any of those things. Most of the requests that I put in for testing are for speech. But we do have a number that are developmental delay. And so those are the ones that we're kind of concentrating on with this plan and the changes that we're making. So again, what I do then is once I get that, I'll refer the student for evaluation. And then we have to hold a case conference prior to their 3rd birthday. And then we decide, do they need services? Do they not? Sometimes we'll do an evaluation of them and they won't need services. And then they can just, be in our pre-K or go to one of the local area ones, whichever it may be. And then the services then are established at that case conference. So, what kind of services do they need? Again, is it just speech? Is it this friend going in preschool and working with them there? Or is it we need our special needs teacher servicing the pre-K kids to work with them in a more intensive basis? So, and the reason why this is becoming kind of an issue is that population is growing. So, the year that I started as special ed director, we had 16 referrals that came through First Steps. And then this year so far, and we may get some more, we've had 19. And again, most of those are still speech, but we are seeing more and more kind of severe, profound kids that are coming in to our preschool. So trying to expect, all those kids to be in one room and service everybody across the spectrum equally well is kind of problematic. And that's not really the model that we want to have. We want to, not that we're trying to necessarily separate, but we will. There'll still be some times where they'll work together, but it just makes more sense with the needs that those kids have to have a separate program from than the kids that don't have as many needs. So that's kind of where we're at.
So where does the funding come from? First of all, we get special education preschool funding. Part of that just from basic SPED, the SPED grant that once came from property taxes. Then also part of the classroom teacher salary is funded through that fund. Title I also helps fund this, and that funds 2 paraeducator positions, salaries and benefits there. And as you're going to see, we are going to actually have a total of 3 paraeducators in our pre-K, 2 in our special developmental pre-K. A little bit about the updated structure. Rick will be the director moving forward. Then Joel and I are our building level administrators. Then we'll have 2 classrooms. One with a licensed special education teacher and 2 paraeducators. It has to be a licensed special education teacher in that developmental pre-K with the needs that we have, the services. Also, then in classroom 1, it's just going to be a certified early childhood teacher, and then 1 paraeducator. That's going to be our general education pre-K classroom. So here are the makeups of the 2 classrooms. So classroom 1 will be that developmental pre-K classroom. So that's going to be made up of 3 and 4-year-olds. All students in that classroom will have an IEP of some sort. It could be speech only, or it could be more for more severe needs. Also, we have that 1 special education teacher, 2 paraeducators. This is where it starts getting a little bit tricky, is when we talk about the number of days, time, and services for each student. Each student, that is solely based on their IEP. So we may have some students that come for just a couple hours a week, or we could have some students in that classroom that come every day. It's just going to depend on their level of need and their level of progress that they make as they're in the classroom.
So really that could do it as well. So they may start out with just a couple of days, and then they could progress to 3, possibly even 5. It just depends on, again, the progress that they're showing, and what the case conference committee decides.
And
We probably will need to continue this during the regular meeting because we do have
okay,
comments from the community, so I apologize for that.
that's it.
All right, do I have that paper?
Is it just Laura? Do we just have one? All right, it's okay, if that's all.
Yeah.
All right, Laura? As-
So, I know you don't answer questions, but I'm gonna ask them in hopes that maybe someone will get back to me on them. But as far as the presentation I heard from the KLR, which I'm all for as many opportunities as we can provide these kids, right? I mean, there's so much opportunity here, it sounds like, with this program. I just was wondering about, what does that mean for John Hines? I know they've got a lot of automotive programs and stuff. Would this be in addition to that, or in hearing proposals from the program about transportation to on-site, like experience things? I mean, we're dealing with a community where transportation might be an issue, so I was just kind of looking for some guidance as to what does this mean for our partnership with, like, John Hines. And if people can't afford to get in this program because it would require driving to somewhere in Noblesville in order to fulfill their on-site obligation as part of the class, could they still go to, like, John Hines for a phlebotomy or something like that? I guess just a lot of us were trying to figure out, what does this mean for the future of that partnership kind of situation. And I just want to make sure that I heard this correctly, since in the public hearing part, the part about considering the transfer of the $325,000, that's been put on hold, till another future date, correct? Okay. That's it for now.
Thank you,
Thank
Laura. Okay, next on our comments is Lindsay Cole from the middle school. The long walk forward, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll do that in just a minute. Okay, sorry.
I thought you were, okay.
think there was a
all right.
misunderstanding.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Sorry. So also Missy Stone then, yes. Okay.
We're good.
Sorry,
we're
this
good.
was just,
All right, awesome, okay.
thank
No
you.
worries.
We'll let you know when that is. So, okay. And at this time, we will adjourn our work session and move right into our regular board meeting. And with that, I've asked Mr. Cochran, you're on.
I'm on. Oh,
Yeah.
stand for the
For
pledge
the
of
Pledge of
allegiance.
Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the school board would repeat the vision statement. We're growing empowered, future-ready students who are prepared for a lifetime of opportunity and success.
Thank you so much. Okay. One of the things that we started practicing as a board as we begin our school board meeting is for an opportunity for the board to tell me something good, something that you've seen in the community of our school that you just want to reflect on during our time today. Anyone have anything?
I'll start. For me this month, I spent a lot of time, as a lot of us did, at the sectional tournament here. And as a junior class parent, I have the exciting exciting job of being part of fundraising for after prom. So any parents who've done that, it's quite a joy and quite what we do. And so I got there very early every night. And do you know who beat me there every night? The concession stand setting up committee. I am telling you what, and that is not just at sectional, that is every home basketball game. Mrs. Capshaw, Mr. Morgan, Mrs. Craner in particular were the ones who I saw who were there an hour before the doors opened, and they set up the concession stand and started food, and they did that all for the benefit of the junior class, raising money for prom activities. And to have those 3 dedicated staff members that I saw, and I'm sure there are many more who have assisted throughout the year, I'm very grateful for that effort, in particular of those 3 staff members. So, and the other shout out that I have from sectional week is the custodians, Nita Everling and Rhonda Cannon in particular were absolutely incredible, picking up all the blown in leaves and time after time. So just very grateful for everyone that put in the effort to make our facility an incredible place.
I think the shout out that I want to have, I've already spoken a little bit to Mr. Leach about, but this year, because I have 2 students who were taking the SATs, I was so thankful for the development of just the time that we took to prepare our students for that. I know we have a lot of students here, whether they know it or not. I just watched my own juniors just have a level of confidence that I don't remember ever having when I took the SAT, because it's kind of one of those things you just show up and hope you know the information. And so that is a huge shout out, not only to Mr. Leach and your leadership, but also just the importance of professional learning communities. What our teachers are doing every day, working together to help our students, I'm a huge fan. And so I was very thankful for that.
And perfect attendance to the juniors
That's right.
on
Yeah,
SAT
that's
day.
right.
Now that's quite a feat.
That is
So
very cool. All right, anybody else?
I would give mine to, I've had the privilege on Fridays of being in Brian and Joel's building on a pretty consistent basis, which is not a building I find myself in. I'm usually in high school. But I just wanted to compliment both of you. That school is a blast, and not that it wasn't before you got here, but it's a blast. Other than the outright favoritism shown towards children in IU gear, there is nothing, I don't think there's anything that you could do. And it is one of the highlights of my week, is when the kids come in on a Friday and you guys are in the hallway. Mrs. Ripperter's in the hallway, but I don't want to get her head too big, but it's just a great environment, and it's so much fun in there, and the kids are having a blast. And just wanted to call you both out for that a remarkable energy in the building, and it's not just because it's Friday, so great work. There is in Brian's building. I mean, I've seen like stuff that could get him sued. It's discriminatory towards these kids in the Purdue stuff. It's bad. So, but we'll work on it. So.
Okay, then at this time, we will move to comments from the community. Mrs. Satong, I think your turn.
Laura, real quick, as someone who has had to watch online before, can everybody make sure their mics are turned on?
Thank
Thank
you very much. I think mine's on this time, right?
It is, yes.
It's green, okay. I just, again, I know you don't answer questions, but I don't know how else to ask it, and I guess I can just say what I want to say. I signed up to speak about the calendar proposal for 24 to 25. And it's more of just an observation and maybe a rhetorical question, shall we say. My understanding, and perhaps I'm wrong, is it's like a template as far as what the calendar will look like. But I know this past year we had scheduled professional development days where the kids were out all day. It was an e-learning day. And my understanding, if I'm correct, is that at some point, depending on what the survey shows about the early dismissal preference on Wednesdays, but on top of that, we would go back and at one point we would add professional days back into the schedule. I guess I'm asking because a lot of parents are wondering about that, like we did it this year, and what does this all encompass? I know we got staff meetings, we got PLC meetings, departmental meetings, all these meetings, and yet educators, especially with the Science of Reading initiative that's going to be implemented, and we've got a lot of younger teachers that are going to need instruction on how to do that. Are we going to go back and add professional development days on top of that, meaning more time, kids will be out of school, but just kind of how that all figures in with the schedule, because it's still kind of open, right? So I'm assuming that decision will be made later, but inquiring minds want to know, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, and I made a note too, so we can respond to you appropriately. Thank you. Okay, moving on, the next item on our agenda is we need to approve our consent agenda items. In the consent agenda tonight is the approval of the agenda, the approval of minutes from the public work session and regular board meeting on February 13th, the executive session on March 1st. We have the approval of claims for payroll on February 16th and March 1st, and the accounts payable claims of March 12th. We have the approval of the personnel report from March and the approval to accept donations from January are the Friends of the Inferno, the Blackbaud Your Cause, My Closet, and All Pro Dads. Also for our February donations, again, we have donations towards the Friends of the Inferno, an FFA grant, Blackbaud Your Cause, Tipton Ford Field, and My Closet. And I just want to pause there a minute and just tell you how thankful we are for the donors who just support our school, from our community. It means so much to our kids and to even us as a board. So I just thank you so much for that. So at this time, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items.
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, our March personnel report. Under certified staff, we have a resignation for Morgan White as the science teacher in the middle school. In classified staff, we have a resignation of Mark Hendricks as the third shift custodian at the elementary school. Recommendations for Haley Lineberry as a cafeteria worker in the middle school. Jerry Smith as the corporation's special education bus driver. Charlene Brown and Elizabeth Grosna as the third shift custodian. Charlene will be at the elementary school and Elizabeth at the high school. Shane Clark is the power school assistant for the corporation. As a reassignment of duties, Nathaniel Dolan from the special education bus route to full-time bus route. Diane Handy from paraeducator at the high school to the science teacher at the middle school. Della Denham from special education bus aide to the pre-kindergarten paraeducator at the elementary school. An assignment of additional duties is for Linda Sprinkles. She is the elementary school and middle school treasurer. We'll be adding to her position just the ECA field trip bus scheduling. Lastly, under ECA staff, we have the resignation of Morgan Dozel as the varsity girls tennis head coach and recommendations of Kevin McDonough for the varsity girls tennis head coach and Sam Williams as the varsity baseball assistant JV coach. All right, this time we will have the superintendent's report.
It's going to be a very musical superintendent's report today.
There we go. Yeah. So we first would like to have our saxophone quartet come on up and play for us their state solo ensemble music.
If you guys need to warm up a little bit, we certainly understand.
Let's real quickly, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves? Because I know that we're probably some people on the live stream that may not know who you are, so if you don't mind.
My name is Colin Farr. I play soprano sax.
My name is Connor Fudge and I play bass sax.
My name is Tiffany Feller and I play tenor sax.
My name is Caleb Farr and I play alto sax.
Awesome. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Mrs. Haynes, if you want to come on up. I tell you, we are incredibly blessed to have such great music organizations here at Tipton. We are incredibly fortunate and definitely appreciate the work that our band and choir directors do. And again, just a high level of excellence. So we appreciate everything that you do.
Son of God, life in its stop till the word was done. Way back yonder, long time ago, judgment be the battle of Jericho. Judgment be the battle of Jericho. Jericho, Jericho. Judgment be the battle of Jericho. The walls come tumbling down. Good morning, brother. My name is Brother. Traveling through the wilderness on this enchanted mountain. Joshua be the battle of Jericho. Jericho, Jericho. Joshua be the battle of Jericho. And the walls come tumbling down. You may talk about it. You may talk about it. At the battle of Jericho. Yes, 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 my Lord. Yes, yes, the battle in my hand. Walls come tumbling down that morning. Judgment is the battle of Jericho. Jericho, Jericho. Judgment be the battle of Jericho.
Go ahead and introduce yourselves for all those people out there in the live stream.
I'm Adrian Mazzona. I'm Emma Watson. I'm McCartney Sherrod. I'm Hallie Cole. I'm Claire Arquette.
I'm Dylan Rockwell. I'm Logan Huffman. I'm Noah Humberfeld. I'm Colin Farr. I'm Andy Blair. I'm Nick Humberfeld. I'm Grayson Miller.
Awesome. Well done. Thank you. So for my part of the Blue Future Awards, I actually am honoring the high school band students and the high school choir students that participated in state solo and ensemble. And that's one of the reasons why they're here. Again, it takes extra time and it takes a lot of effort to be able to perform solos and ensembles at the state level. And it is a very demanding opportunity, and we certainly appreciate how hard they work to achieve excellence again. So they are my people for the Blue Future Award, and I will have Mr. Craig Leach come up for the high school Blue Future Awards. I do. Yeah. Yes. There's me. Make sure I put them all. I think I put them all in order. Yep. Okay.
All right, so we have two, well, the groups, obviously, but then I have two individuals we'd like to recognize as well. First, I'm going to go ahead and have Dylan come back up here when it's still like fresh in your minds what they sound like as a group. Got you dressed up for the occasion. So we are recognizing Dylan because he went to district solo and ensemble, and then obviously went and competed at state. But not only did he do awesome, but he scored a perfect score while at state. So Dylan Rockwell, perfect score at state. Grady, come on down. Kind of dressed up for the occasion. So Grady, we're recognizing tonight for scoring his 1,000th point as he's just a junior, so he actually has another year to keep adding on to that total. Over his 2,000, he gonna score 1,000 in a season. That would be very, very impressive. That'd be cool. So he'll obviously go up with the other 1,000-point scores that have been a part of Tipton history. But over that time, I did write down kind of records over the 3 years. 17-7 sectional champs in his freshman year, 18-7 sectional champs the following year, and then of course this year they were conference champs and sectional champs. So building a pretty illustrious athletic career at Tipton High School. So Grady Carpenter, 1,000 points.
All right. Let's have Mr. Ayers come on up.
Good.
Please.
Let's do it. Let's go ahead and start with Builders Club. So if you
Yeah,
please wanna come on
yeah.
now. So,
Here's your certificates.
okay, thank you. So I was going to be introducing them with a couple of kids as well, but I'm still happy to honor the staff members that I've got here. The kids who I was going to have coming up, specifically Aaliyah Brewer, is our TMS president of our Builders Club. For those of you who don't know what Builders Club is, it is sponsored by these two wonderful ladies right here. That is Lindsay Cole and Miss Missy Stone, okay? The club is a service organization, so they organize different things to just make sure that they're a part of, doing wonderful things in our community. If it's okay for me to talk about the great things you guys have done this year, I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. And this is just this year. They did a Socktober sock drive back in October to benefit the Tipton Resource Center. They did in the around Christmas time the Autumn Woods Christmas drive, where they collected some like CDs and DVDs for the local home for them, so that they could have some wonderful things. They needed it, and so they said we want help. So they recently completed the Tipton County Humane Society fundraiser, collecting food, toys, other pet-related animals for them. I really liked that they also partnered with the school dance, that if someone brought an item for that, they got a discounted ticket into the dance. So, you know, we're ready to go ahead and use that. They also, here in March, are doing custodial appreciation donuts and cards, and they do a wonderful thing to lift up everyone's spirits at the end of the school year, too, where they have sixth graders' lockers get covered with positive things at the end of the school year to remind people that, you know. So these two ladies do wonderful work to just build up people around them, not only, of course, in our building, but across our community. So I think that Mrs. Stone is going to say a couple things, too. Is that correct? So I'll go ahead and yield some of my time so that she can talk about it, too. So.
We are really excited to be a part of Builders Club. We have approximately 12 members, but the good thing is every few months we get more and more members. Word gets out, kids find out what is Builders Club, and they want to be a part of it. And I'm very proud. My personal favorite is the Humane Society, and we filled a Humane Society van this year. And we were also able to give some monetary donations as well. I just want to say, during the Valentine dance, one little guy who's new to our corporation, he came up to Mrs. Cole and I. We thought he wanted a cookie. He had part of his allowance and wanted to give it as a donation for the Humane Society. And he's new to town. That really gets you. That makes it worth everything. But we appreciate you letting us speak to you this evening. We're very proud of what we do and hope to continue and even get bigger and better.
There we go. Okay. Well, here's your certificate.
All right.
Ladies, and I want to just say
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And another group that I want to honor, if I could ask for our swim team to come on up. Swim team, come on up for me, guys. So I don't know if you know this, I was the athletic director before I did this job now. So I got to see these guys swim in action many a night. I actually, unfortunately, didn't get to make it to a single swim meet, and I should have, because they went undefeated this season. They had a phenomenal season. Not only did they go undefeated during the season, but they had their MIC Conference Championship this past Saturday. And pardon the pun, they blew everyone out of the water. So I want to make sure that I shouted out some particular individuals. Who I have up here are the 8th grade team leaders, right? So we've got Lucy Roach, we got Francie Condick, we've got Rylan Kane, Jacoby Defoe, and Oliver Stewart, who all did phenomenally well leading this team this past season. I want to point out a couple of people up here as well. Jacoby Defoe not only set the school record, but the MIC record during this season, if I'm not mistaken, the 50 butterfly, right? That's exactly right. So congratulations, Jacoby. Round of applause for you, my friend. And then 2 of these ladies who are up here were part of the school record-setting 400 free relay. Those 2 ladies that I have here are Rylan Kane and Francie Condict, who also swam with 6th grader Evelyn Friend and 7th grader Josie Hyatt. So while they may be leaving my swim program and heading up to the high school, don't worry, we've got other people ready to fill the pool. So congratulations to you guys for a phenomenal season. A round of applause for all of you guys. I don't know why he didn't come up with them, but Coach Thompson, who is giving all the glory to the kids, which is wonderful, okay, has done a phenomenal job leading this program. So I also want to say thank you to him for his wonderful work.
All right, can we get a photo?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
Come on, Coach.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Congratulations. And we have one final Blue Future. Gotta figure out how to get a picture. Oh, come on up.
All right. So
Tipton Elementary School wants to recognize Jessica Higginbotham tonight. Jessica, after spending 10 years as a kindergarten teacher at TES, was hired as our reading specialist this past school, right before school started this year, and has been our reading specialist. I think both of us are very, I want to say, surprised by the roles that she has taken on this year. Unexpectedly, whenever she came in as the reading specialist, she was going to really split her time 50-50, working with adults, working with kids. Well, this year it's been more like 75-25 working with kids, because she's filled in for a couple leaves that we've had, unexpected leaves, and Jessica's done it with bells and whistles on, I would say. So she is excellent, and I know that you know, it's whenever you have you're put in a position to where you don't have a long-term sub. Jessica Higginbotham's a pretty good option for a long-term sub. So while doing that, she still did her duties as a reading specialist, working alongside our teachers and having a positive impact for both teachers and students. So I just want to recognize Jessica Higginbotham.
Awesome.
When they were out there.
Okay, okay.
I think we'll be good.
Okay.
I do not, but we are going to go ahead and have the elementary to complete their preschool. I do apologize for that.
If you are recognized, feel free to leave at this time. You don't have to stay for our early board.
Oh.
Yeah. But you have to stay, Rob. Riveting board meeting, right? Riveting.
Yeah, it is riveting.
The rest of it?
Not at all. Not at your age.
We'll try it. We'll make sure.
I didn't mean you, Jason.
He's just using their. He's,
Oh, sorry.
I know.
All right. So, where we left off in classroom 1. So we were talking about how days, time, and services were based upon students' IEPs in that classroom. Those students will be pushed into our general ed classroom at times as well. And once again, that all depends on what they're telling us, the progress that they're making and so forth. So that could be fluid throughout the year. It could start small, get a little bit bigger, and then, you know, depending on how they do, we may pull back, we may push forward. And then also, we want to keep it at a 5-to-1 student to teacher ratio in that classroom.
The other thing with that is also students could come here and just get their speech services, but not actually join our pre-K rooms. So there's students that come in, their parents drop them off, they spend that half-hour session once a week, twice a week, whatever it is, and then they leave without having to come to our pre-K as well.
Will a bus come and get them and what? How does that work? Do
That,
we have that option?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing that we would offer that if that's something that's needed. I don't know specifically. I'll be honest. Yes. Yes.
All right, so then if you go to classroom 2, this is going to be only 4-year-olds. and this is our general education setting. But there may be students that have speech services that go in there, and then like we talked about, that pushing in that inclusion. We're gonna have one teacher, one paraeducator, and we're gonna have options of 3 or 5 days per week. And once again, you're gonna see here in the next slide or the next couple slides is that we're gonna be offering A and PM options. So there's not gonna be any student that attends full day. These students in this classroom have to be potty trained, and we're gonna cap it at the 10-to-1 student to teacher ratio, or student to adult ratio. So this is a significant change for us in regards to just offering the A and PM options. There will be no lunch served anymore. Right now, we currently serve breakfast and lunch to our pre-K students. However, the AM will get breakfast, and then we'll have like an afternoon snack for our students that attend in the PM. And then also with that, going to the AM PM model, our para educators that are in those rooms, they will actually have that a 2-hour time frame where they'll have their lunch, but then they'll also be doing some supervision duties within the bigger school. Where our teachers, they're gonna have lunch and then they'll have prep. So one thing that we weren't able to work out this year is just like our grade levels and they have Thursday PLC meetings. So they meet as a grade level every Thursday. This is going to allow our pre-K to have that same capability too. Because they'll have that common prep. And there are times that they have to cover each other for lunch and prep right now, so they don't have the opportunity to have that collaboration. Also, we're going to offer what we're going to call a kindergarten junior, and this is going to be a 5-day a week. These students will attend in the PM, and we're going to offer them a higher level curriculum at least 2 of the 5 days that they attend. So that will be beyond that pre-K curriculum, preparing them even more for kindergarten, and we're no longer offering an aftercare program. We'll talk a little bit more about that kindergarten junior program. So transportation wise, so AM and PM, they'll be in our arrival and dismissal, just like the rest of the school. For our special needs students, they will have bus transportation provided, but there are students there too that parents opt to just drop off and pick up. And then, since we're not having that after-school option, we will be collaborating with our local daycare providers to possibly transportation there or figuring out if they come and pick up or. So here's a little bit more information on the kindergarten junior program. Once again, they're going to attend 5 days a week in classroom 2. They're going to have that higher level curriculum at least twice a week, and then science of reading base. We know that science of reading is a big push for science of reading. That's where we're headed, and so we're going to base that curriculum for kindergarten junior in the science of reading.
Our pre-K actually science of reading currently too.
Correct. Yeah. So the option.
Yeah, we received an early intervention grant that requires science of reading.
So whenever we go to develop that curriculum, it's going to be developed, and our first meeting for this is next Wednesday, but it's going to be developed in a collaboration between a pre-K teacher, a kindergarten teacher, reading specialist, our reading interventionist, so our reading specialist is Jessica Higginbotham, reading interventionist, and Mrs. Sarah Pierce. And then also, speaking of St. John's actually created this program whenever my wife was the principal at St. John's. She was a part of developing that program. Sarah Pierce then worked at St. John's. So they're going to collaborate. Brittany's going to come and collaborate as well. So in the development. Cost of billing, three half days are going to cost $45 a week, 5 half days, $75 a week, and then that kindergarten junior program with $100 a week. And once again, these are for all costs for our general education students, our special needs students with IEP. They do that special ed.
That kindergarten junior would still be 5 days a week, but half day.
Correct.
Okay.
It would be. So we, with our path to quality and designation of being a level 3, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, our families are, there are, what I want to say, vouchers available to families through On My Way Pre-K. They have to apply for those vouchers, and we are going to be very strict on this year prior to enrollment in pre-K that all families do apply for it. Whether they're going to receive it or not, we're going to ask them to apply for it. And then On My Way Pre-K eligible students will get preference in those general education spots. I'm going to call Lizzie up here and talk a little bit about the pre-K, On My Way Pre-K program. She's going to talk, this kind of explains what the On My Way Pre-K program is, and then she's going to talk about the requirements as well. So
I'll be reading, so. One is On My Way Pre-K. So it's a program administered through the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning. It's under the direction of the Family and Social Services Admin, and On My Way Pre-K provides grants for 4-year-olds from low-income families so they may have access to high-quality pre-K programs the year before they begin in kindergarten. And then we have the application linked below. It also, anybody that does CCDF, which 3-year-olds can apply for that. Anybody can apply for that for help with like daycare. So
What is CCDF?
CCDF is the Child Care Development Fund. So I'm gonna click on this. The On My Way Path Pre-K, I hit the wrong thing.
you want to bring that, if you want to bring that up.
Sorry, this is not my forte.
No, you're fine.
I feel you.
So what I put up here was, these are like the basic requirements for On My Way for the path to quality. So they're based with like the FSSA and the CCDF, what they first require. So we all have to have first aid, a fingerprint background check. So those, they have all those basic things that any daycare place with children under the age of 5 are required to have. And then Path to Quality goes and works on top of like the curriculum for the actual students. So I'll go ahead, sorry. So it's the legislation that authorized the On My Way Pre-K program requires that providers comply with the standards and requirements for the Child Care and Development Fund. On My Way Pre-K also requires public schools, including charter schools, to be rated at a level 3 or 4 level of Path to Quality to accept On My Way Pre-K vouchers. So when you initially start, you start at a level 1. You can easily move up quickly depending on what steps you have in place. These are what we're at right now, are a level 3. They actually changed the standards for level 4. Tipton could probably be a level 4, no problem, because of the requirements that changed. You don't have to mentor a program anymore, but that was the main difference between level 3 and level 4. And you receive a little bit extra cash per student, and then there's the actual cash like reward as well. So these are just the basic requirements for us. So you must be able to be pass quality level 1 or 2 first, and then you have to be in an operation for a minimum of 1 academic year. 50% of your teaching staff has to either have a CDA or equivalent certificate, an early childhood degree or equivalent degree, or completed 60 hours of educational training leading to an early childhood development degree or CDA credential. For level 4, you have to have 75%. Says at least 50% of your teaching staff, that includes administrator responsible for the supervision of classroom staff, participate annually in a minimum of 20 hours professional development focused on topics relevant to early childhood. So many of the things that we do here during the school year for professional development also count towards. You have certain required trainings. There's certain 12 hours you're required at the very beginning, and you don't have to do those again, but those are like the standards. And then pretty much any extra training, just make sure you document. And then a program evaluation is completed annually by families and staff. A strategic plan is completed and includes annual evaluation, goal setting, and long-range planning, goal, and setting. A written curriculum that reflects the program philosophy and goals is based on child development and appropriate practice and provides for the various ages, ability levels, and developmental stages of the children. We use the Scholastic On My Way Pre-K program. Then children's physical, cognitive, language, literacy, math, and creative development is supported. We have to have 10 centers. They have to have at least 3 choices at each center. So it'd be fine motor. What else? We have blocks, literacy, math, science. So we have 10 centers. And then children are actively engaged throughout the day in making choices about activities and materials. A third of it has to be a free choice for them. And then plans and environmental accommodations for children with special needs are evident, which is already stated in Tipton's statements. So that's what we use for that. And then we've been just each year trying to do better for each one of those students. So, and then, yeah, that's it. Sorry. And then there's a link to the full, they'll go much more in depth on if you'd like. So. Thank you.
So, just a little bit about how we're gonna be promoting this. We do have an open house set for, Thursday, May 2nd from 5:30 to 7. We have the, is it the lady that On My Way Pre-K, or who's the lady that comes and talks? She came and talked about the On My Way Pre-K. Or she.
Yeah, so she's like our area manager.
Yeah.
So whenever they fill an application online and they're accepted, she's gonna send me paperwork that I have to fill out.
So, then we'll also put out posts on social media, send it out in a weekly newsletter, and then we have a flyer here that's linked in there that we'll send out. So, questions?
I had one. When requiring families to all complete the On My Way application, will that generate more funding for the program?
Yes.
I mean, is that funding higher than what a general, like a family who maybe doesn't think they need that? I mean, I'm just saying, I guess, is that threshold
Yeah.
higher than what we're asking families to pay?
Yes, we'll receive, I think I understand we'll receive more dollars per kid from On My Way Pre-K than we actually charge
a parent,
students. Yes. So, and that's something that they've always done. They've always filled out. We haven't required necessarily everybody to do it, but we want to be really strict on that. Make sure that we get the funding.
That's also something that we learned from visiting some other
Yes.
preschools.
Will you allow 5-year-olds to do the kindergarten? I'm just thinking for birthdays, like they did summer birthday and maybe the parents went, I just noticed you said 4, only
Yeah.
4-year-olds would,
Yeah.
is that,
That's a good question. I haven't thought about that, to be honest with you, because we just assume that those kids are gonna go into, if they do, for those kids that qualify for kindergarten, then we just assume that they would go into kindergarten, but that is a good question.
like all my boys were summer, like my youngest is July 4th birthday. I'm not going to send him when he's 5.
Yeah.
We currently have a student that repeated with us this year because he's late July.
Okay.
I think some of that's also to make sure that like they know that third grade, or 3-year-olds.
Okay.
That
So before and,
Facilities wise, you are adequately equipped.
Yes, especially going with the caps, making sure that we have, the adult and student ratio there and keeping that special needs, classroom, smaller will allow us to have that.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your flexibility between meetings.
Yes.
Okay, next on our agenda, we had department reports included in your packet. Did anyone have any questions from any of those? Okay. Next is our financial report. From Brooke. Thanks for coming.
Debt service fund, $240,323, and the rainy day fund remains at $2,253,080. We made our first transfer from the education to the operations fund in February in the amount of $100,000.
Any questions?
Didn't have any questions, but I did have a comment that I read in Mr. Jaworski's report. And just for the people in the audience and the people online, Brooke should be recognized for the incredible amount of work that she's done in the transition to the treasurer's office and getting a new employee spun up on payroll and all of that stuff. So I read that with great interest, and you should hopefully get like
Lunch.
a Chick-fil-A gift card. Or something. I mean, but something, but when I read that, like you were busy in December and January, and then that has increased, and the lights are on, the bills are paid, you know, you've done a great job. So I just, some of that gets buried in that report, and I wanted to make sure you knew that, that we had recognized that, and that, great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it very much.
Okay, for our old business today, we need to approve an additional appropriation for the operation fund. At our February 12th meeting, we requested permission to advertise 2 additional appropriations of $325,000 from the rainy day fund and $88,380 from the operation fund. Advertisement was made in the Kokomo Tribune on February 21st. The appropriation out of the rainy day will not be voted upon tonight. But the $88,380 appropriation from the operation fund allows the board to spend excess funds from the retired 2012 and 2013 bond issuance on capital improvements for the Tipton Middle School and Tipton High School Phase 2 projects. It is recommended that the board approve additional appropriations, the additional appropriations resolution. Can I please have a motion and a second to approve that?
I move to approve the $88,380 appropriation for the operation fund.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next, we are going to award the mowing contract for the 2024 and 2025 seasons. The board granted permission to advertise for mowing bids at its February 12th meeting. Advertisements were made in the Kokomo Tribune on February 22nd and 26th, as well as social media platforms. We received 6 bids on March 1st. It is recommended to award the 2-year mowing contract to Case and Company LLC as the lowest, most responsive bid package. Need a motion and a second to award that contract.
I would move to award the 2-year mowing contract to Case and Company.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving on to new business. Tonight, we have the request for proposals for food service vendors. In your packet are documents needed to begin the request for proposals process for food service management companies. All of these documents are approved by the Indiana Department of Education. To begin the bidding process, we are requesting approval of the request for proposals document and permission to advertise the process for accepting bids. I need a motion and a second.
I move to approve the RFP and advertise for the process of accepting bids for the food service.
Second.
Are there any questions?
Maybe, we have a small committee that's going to be handling that.
Yes, there will be two board members, also be me and Brooke.
Okay.
And we will do the scoring using a rubric that it was part of the RFP to determine who is the most acceptable bid.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Next, we need to approve a purchase of Chromebooks. Last month, we presented the corporation one-to-one technology overview and made the recommendation to deploy Chromebooks to all high school students starting in August of 2024 to create a more financially sustainable program. Our current high school student MacBook Airs under Apple leases will be redeployed to classified and certified staff to replace their antiquated machines. Since we are still paying off the Apple lease, we are recommending a 4-year lease from Insight Financial Services for the new Chromebooks to protect the education fund from a larger than expected expenditure. The annual Chromebook lease payment is $42,254.52, and we had documentation in our packet. So I need a motion and a second to approve the purchase of Chromebooks.
I move to approve the purchase of Chromebooks and at the pricing indicated in our board packet.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Next, we need to approve the proposed 2025-2026 calendar. In your packet is the recommended calendar. The calendar is similar to the calendar for 2024-2025 revised KSEC academic calendar passed last month. We need a motion and a second to approve the calendar.
I move to approve the 2025-26 calendar.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Okay, next, we have a declaration of surplus equipment. The Ag Department is requesting that a set of 32 lockers be declared surplus due to their poor condition. We will explore opportunities to scrap and recycle the lockers if possible. It is recommended that the board approve the declaration of surplus for these items. Need a motion and a second to approve the declaration.
These lockers are not used, they're just in the way, basically. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that I'm not, if I'm mistaken, they've just been in a room that's just not been used. They want to try to use that room.
Okay.
So just to kind of get that out of
That's what I figured.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it looks like based on the pictures, it probably not really used by someone else.
No, that's really because I think they're gonna have to be scrap. So at this point, so yeah.
I motion to approve the declaration of surplus equipment.
Second that.
Are there any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Under other matters to come before the board tonight, we need to approve the memo of understanding with the KLR Medical Certification Training School. In the work session, we heard a presentation from their CEO and founder at KLR. I think it's an excellent program that's going to offer students just a variety of certifications, and so we need to approve the MOU tonight so we can move forward. I need a motion and a second to approve the memo of understanding.
I move to approve the MOU presented this evening.
Second.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments?
In terms of Laura's question with John Hines, were the plans to continue using John Hines as well?
Sure.
In addition.
Yeah, we again, this is, we really want to try to keep some of our kids back here for programs that we can offer. Again, with automotive, we're going to start talking about a very specific plan with Dan Young coming out here in the next month or so, and trying to keep as many of our kids here. I've been in conversation with Elwood's superintendent, who is in charge of Hines, and they are willing to allow us to house our own programs if we have enough interest. And particularly, they were very open to automotive and also CNA. Now, they do not offer the CCMA, but that's something that our students would get through KLR. So
Does John Hines do veterinary?
I believe they do. I believe they do. And again, if there's a hardship as far as transportation or anything like that, we still have the option of sending kids to Hines. That's not off the table. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion passes as well. Next, we have an advisory committee for student achievement on March 18th. That is, we'll see if we're gonna host that, since we scheduled the work session for today, which is being advertised. Okay, next, for our schedule of events, we have, on Thursday night, we have the community night from 5 to 8. I hope everyone can come out. Sounds like it's gonna be a really great evening. Lots of people are putting a lot of time into that. We have Flex Days from March 25th through the 28th, which would be a snow makeup day if needed.
Let's hope
Hopefully
not.
at this point. March 29th through the April 5th is spring break, and on April 8th is when the total eclipse is happening, and the students will be dismissed at 1 o'clock. Lastly in your packet was just some information about the extracurricular balances at the end of first semester 2023, 2024. You can, it's just, we don't need to approve those. You can just review those. And then at this time, I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
Move to adjourn the March meeting.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, have a good evening.
Thank you all.
And we had entertainment.
We did. Yes, we did. That's an efficient.